Well, it's a pleasure right now to be joined on the streets of New York City by former UFC bantamweight champion Aljamain Sterling. Aljo, thanks for your time on Fox, mate.
Thank you, thank you. Thanks for coming out to the great city of New York.
That's it. Now, the reason I brought you out here, Aljo, obviously we're going to talk about UFC 309, Jon Jones, Stipe Miocic in just a moment, but I kind of wanted to get a sense of the fighting history, the fighting spirit, and the fighting culture, I guess, of New York City. And who better to ask than somebody who's from around these parts, or at least from New York State, somebody who grew up to become a UFC champion eventually. What was it like sort of being in and around New York City and growing up around these parts?
It was different, you know. I'm from Long Island, New York, but I came out to the city a couple of times as a young kid coming up. Came out here more, spent a lot more time out here as I was a little bit older, when I could appreciate it a bit more. But as you can see, man, people just mind their business. They keep moving. Doesn't matter what you're doing, even if there's cameras out on deck. And it's just a hustling, bustling city, man. Just a lot of tough people. Cold weather in the winter times, and I think sometimes you got to be hardened by that. And it just kind of shows with just that New York grit. It's just that everyday hustle, that everyday grind. You have so many people that come from Long Island all the way to the city, commute 5 days a week, 6 days a week, and it's just that everyday hustle that you got to make it no matter what. What's up, boys?
There you go. So, get a shot of that if you can. A few fans there for you, Aljo. How good. That must be great to see. I mean, those are your people.
Yeah. It's very nice out here, especially because we get more recognition from Long Island, obviously, because we grew up there. So to get recognition out here in the big city of New York, man, is nothing like it.
But you're right in what you say. There's sort of this, I think, romantic perception of New Yorkers, I guess from all around the world, where you need to be tough if you're from out here. You need to have grit, resilience to, regardless of what you do, to live and work in New York City, to be a New Yorker, you got to be tough. You got to have a fighting spirit.
Man, I used to take the train early mornings for a couple of acting gigs, and I couldn't imagine. I complained about it, so I couldn't imagine what it was like for people every day. That's their lifestyle. They get up 4:30 in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning, got to get on the train every day, commute to work. It's just a different attitude, and you do it 24/7, man. It's a lot of work. It's a commitment, and just chasing a dream, trying to get to the next position in your life so you can move on to the next step.
What's up, man?
What's up, brother? How you doing?
I'm doing good. How about
Good, good, very good.
I'm Georgian, so I fuck with
Oh, yeah, very nice. My Georgia people, yes, let's go.
What's up? I love you, man.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Aljamain, all the way.
As we say, what is it? Not Modi. Garmajoba, but Garmajos. Yes. You too, bro.
How good's that? Nice to be.
Georgian.
We're barely a couple of minutes into this, and you're already the hottest property on the street.
It's Georgian takeover right now.
That's it. And we'll speak about Merab in just a moment, but there she is, Aljo. Madison Square Garden, the Mecca. Some of the greatest fights of all time took place in that building. Muhammad Ali, Joe Frazier, Rocky Marciano was in that building. Sugar Ray Robinson fought there. It's just a magical place, ain't it?
It really is, man. We had some of the greatest combat athletes fighting here, competing here. And now we got a couple New Yorkers in Jon Jones and Chris Weidman showcasing this weekend, so I'm excited, man.
You looking forward to this weekend, then?
Oh, it's gonna be great.
Yeah?
It's gonna be great. Hey, you know what it is? It's the fascination of, can Stipe upset the entire world and turn it upside down on his head? Or can Jon continue to do what he does and just dominate the way he does? And then, of course, you got Weidman getting ready to retire at some point.
Yeah.
You know, he's getting closer to that age, right? So I'm here to see him and hopefully support if he does decide to make that decision here in New York. Hopefully not. I'd like to see a little bit more of the Chris before he hangs it up.
Well, I spoke to Chris the other day, and it was kind of remarkable to see. I mean, we were talking about how in his last fight, he actually there were moments, you know, of course, before the eye pokes, that he looked like the Chris Weidman of old.
Yes.
Like, he really looked like he was recapturing some of his best. And, you know, there's still a part of me that thinks Chris Weidman could continue for at least a few more fights, you know?
I agree. I think he showed some glimpses of that, like you said, the Chris Weidman of old. And it was night and day from his performance with Brad Tavares, which I think was very lackluster.
Yeah.
And you could tell there was some ring rust
He told me he was afraid to kick in that fight because of obvious
The
reasons.
nerves, I think, yeah, he said the nerves kicked in and it was just different. Because I watched him in the back room warming up. I was like, oh, this guy looks sharp right now. I was like, this should be a very competitive fight. Let's see where he's at. And then it wasn't that performance that we thought he was going to be able to bring out. But then he bounced back big in a huge way in the next one. And if he can keep that momentum going, I really do think because of his skill set, he has the ability to still compete.
I want to touch on something that you mentioned a little earlier, Stipe Miocic wanting to shock the world.
Stipe.
I kind of feel as though Stipe is statistically the greatest heavyweight of all time.
Yes.
He's just being massively overlooked by so much of the MMA community. I mean, this guy is an absolute legend. 6 title fight wins in the division, 4 of them defenses over DC, JDS, you know, some of the best we've ever seen.
Yes, Overeem. I think people, because he hasn't been competing as actively, right?
Yeah.
People are probably overlooking him a little bit. They haven't seen him in action, although Jon hasn't fought that much in the last few years either. But he fought in more recent memory.
Yeah.
And it was very, very dominant against a very tough opponent. So with that said, I think the only person smart enough to not overlook Stipe is Jon Jones. Just based on all the work he's done in the past, he's very meticulous with his preparation. So it doesn't really matter if the world is overlooking him. As long as Stipe is confident, comes and shows up, I think he'll make it a very competitive fight, and hopefully not a one-sided railroading. But I think it would be more competitive than people want to give it credit for on paper. Because on paper, Stipe is the older guy on his way out, hasn't really competed very much, and Jon is up there as well. But I think Stipe is giving this all he's got for the last hoorah.
Tactically, how do you assess it? How would Jon get the victory over him if he is to be successful? And likewise for Stipe.
I think if Jon gets it done, it's going to be with the grappling.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's going to want to exchange and box with him. I'm not saying he can't, but he has more tools with the kicking, the spinning elbows, and things like that, the lead elbow step-ins that he likes to utilize. But at the same time, I think his path of least resistance will be to take the fight to the ground. Stipe he has decent boxing, right? I don't know if it was Golden Gloves or something that he did when he was a bit younger. So I think it'll be ill-advised for Jon Jones to predominantly lead the fight standing. Yeah,
I think he said yesterday, Jon, that he predicts a victory via submission or ground and pound. And you know, 12 to 6 elbows. Well.
Yes. How crazy would that be to do that and hit the Jon Jones infamous elbow, now when it's legal, and get a finish that way? That would be just like, I don't know.
Poetic justice almost, right?
Yeah, very poetic, I guess.
And Jon's from around these parts as well. He's from New York State, I suppose. So I imagine like he's got a connection to the city as well that he feels.
A little bit, I would imagine, especially coming out here as an adult. Yeah. I think he's been able to spend a little bit more time out here in the city, similar to myself. You know, we used to come out here back in high school for like parties. Yeah. But as you're older.
Into many fights?
No.
Okay.
No, we stay away. Just on the mats.
Yeah. But I mean, training out here with, you know, Matt Serra, Ray Longo, what's that like? Training at a gym that has, you know, that is steeped in MMA history.
It's been amazing. Just learning from those guys, getting my feet wet, getting started, and just all the work we put in. A lot of local talent, which is nice. And also even being able to come out here to the city from time to time for certain fights, depending on the type of matchups, right? If I'm fighting a grappler, we'll come out to the Blue Room at Renzo Gracie's, who gave Matt Serra his black belt, right? So we have that lineage, which is pretty dope. And I just like the tight-knit community aspect, the feel, just people that are your own, that you kind of just all get together and get that training. And from there, you guys just all elevate each other. And I think that's what it's all about, cultivating that atmosphere.
What's so special about those particular guys?
What's so special about them? They're everyday people, man. Yeah. I don't know if it's anything uniquely different. It's just, you know, they're real. And they keep it straight with you. And I think that's one thing I do appreciate it, especially them being New Yorkers. They don't. It's not a lot of fluff. There's not a lot of BS. No. It's just straight to the point. Whatever it is, they like you. They like you. If they don't, they don't. And I appreciate that.
It's so exciting to be here, and you know, I think it's so fitting. Like, if this is Jon Jones's final hurrah inside the octagon, you know, to have it done at Madison Square Garden, where so many legends have fought, like I mentioned earlier, is, I think, so fitting.
Yes.
And, you know, with somebody like Jon as well, I think he'll like that as well. But realistically, the elephant in the room can't really be ignored, right? So many people are calling for him after this fight to carry it on and to fight Tom Aspinall. He wants to fight Alex Pereira. I think that's a great idea as well. How do you feel about the whole this debate?
I mean, I've heard Jon talk about it and break it down. I've had my own opinions, and when he breaks it down, it makes complete sense.
Yeah, it does.
And
it does.
if I'm him, I'm thinking the same exact way, and I don't think any human being on this planet would think any differently if you were in his current position. Not if you were just starting your career and you're trying to make a name for yourself. The name's already made, the work's already done, the resume is there. So I get it. As a fan, though, selfishly, yeah, I would love to see that fight. But I also get, if I'm Jon Jones, that fight really does not move the needle all that much for you, other than saying you beat a killer past your prime. And I don't want to say Jon's past his prime, but it's a way more risky fight for him to take versus a young up-and-comer like a guy like Aspinall, who's been so dominant against everyone.
And if I'm Tom Aspinall, too, to be fair, like, I can totally understand where he's coming from as well. He's had to defend his interim belt. First time I can remember since
Renan
Barão was, right? In your division, of course. When Cruz was injured, right?
Yeah.
He fought like Eddie Wineland or someone like that. Yeah, so I can totally get where he's coming from, you know?
Yeah. But if I'm Aspinall, I'm gonna keep poking the bear. Maybe you can say something to get under his skin to get him to take the fight. I don't know. I don't really know what makes Jon tick, so it's hard to really say how to really poke at the bear to get that fight. But seems like Jon is smart enough, comfortable in his own skin, where he's not gonna muddy the waters. He's gonna do what he needs to do, and thank you for all the good memories. I guess that's the best we can get.
Speaking of somebody who's been to Madison Square Garden a few times before, Michael Chandler in the co-main event.
Yes.
He takes on Charles Oliveira in a massive rematch of that fight in Houston a few years ago. How do you assess that one, Aljo?
If Chandler can use some fight IQ, I think he gets it done. But if it's Chandler of old, I think he comes out guns blazing like he always does. And he's a phenomenal athlete, you know? But he comes out guns blazing, he hits hard. We all know he's got the power, explosiveness. It's just when he makes those mistakes, he gets caught in that moment of trying to do things to entertain more than he should be focused on winning the fight. You can do both, but I think he's so heavily focused on the entertainment that he comes up short in these performances. Dustin Poirier doing the over-the-top takedown that he didn't need to do, trying to entertain. You saw what he did with Dan Hooker, but he got the job done when he had him hurt. Charles Oliveira, he's had a lot of these tough fights. Justin Gaethje.
Justin Gaethje one was crazy.
All winnable fights.
All
winnable fights for him. It's not like these guys were completely outskilled. They were just smarter than him, and they just did what they need to do to win. And it was entertaining because he forced the entertainment.
Yeah. I wonder if it's like the Bellator thing of, like, you know, coming into a new promotion and wanting to be the entertaining guy, wanting to be the guy that can sell, wanting to be the guy that can put on a show for the fans.
I think we're past that now, no? I mean, he's been with the company for X amount of years now. With that said, when he first came on the scene from Bellator, he said, I'm here for a good time, not a long time. And I respected that. I'm like, okay, I can get behind that. I understand what you're trying to do. And he delivered on that. But now it's like, bro, do you want to get your hand raised and be in the category of UFC champion or not? And if you are, here's your opportunity. In a winnable fight against Charles Oliveira, obviously if it goes to the ground, he gives Oliveira more chances to win. But he was able to survive last time, right? And then he ended up getting caught on the feet.
But so, he nearly won the fight in the first round.
Nearly won the fight in the first round, and then gave up his back.
Never do that against Charles.
But he escaped. He did the jumping back, which you're told not to do. He escaped.
Suplexed himself into a deeper body triangle.
So Chandler's got all the goods, man. He's talented and explosive. It's just the fight IQ. And he said he's gonna fight smart this time, so I'm like, I'm waiting to see. I wanna see what that looks like. I'm not saying sit there and be boring for 15 minutes, but use some fight IQ, move your feet, not just hands down, swinging for the fences. That's just, I don't know, that's a straight up bar fight. It's like, you're a world champion at the top level. Like, let's act like it.
Another factor to consider is, and it can't be ignored, the fact that he waited 2 years for Conor McGregor, who never turned up. I wonder how that affects him. He went from age 36 to 38.
Real quick.
Yeah, that was quick. So, yeah, I wonder if the ring rust will affect him, and also the psychological load of having waited for that guy for so long.
Yeah, I hope not. It's hard to really say where he's at with that. It seems like he's in a good place. Maybe it was good for him to give his chin a little bit of a rest as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Being some of those wars that he's been in. Like, even, like, just going back to the Justin Gaethje fight, him hands down, just walking forward, eating punches, and I'm just like, bro, there's no way any of this is good for you. No way. I understand a couple of shots, but that was a lot.
Yeah.
But with that said, the time off could definitely affect him. Ring rust, I think, is a thing. But we'll see how his preparation went. Hopefully he doesn't come in gun shy. Hopefully he takes his time, gets his feet wet, and gives us a performance that is worthy enough for him to possibly fight for a world title if he can get past a guy like Charles Oliveira.
But Charles, having won that fight back in 2021, I don't think is to be discounted at all.
No.
The fact that he very nearly beat Arman Tsarukyan at UFC 300, I think, is testament to just how good he remains. I think it's something like his 46th career fight this weekend, something absolutely remarkable. So, yeah, Charles Oliveira certainly not to be dismissed.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that, man. Charles is a tank. One of my favorite fighters, Du Bronx.
Is he?
Just because he's such a submission artist, the way he finishes fights, the way he finds the submissions, I don't think it's nothing short of spectacular. Like, some of these finishes are just like, you did what? How'd you do that? And just watching and breaking it down like, yeah, this guy is a boss.
Yeah.
So, yeah, good luck with trying to fight smart against a guy like Du Bronx.
But what is your prediction for the co-main event?
I don't know.
Chandler by...
I don't know. I can't call it.
Okay.
I can't call it.
The main event, though, you think Jon takes it out?
I think this is Jon's fight to lose. I think everything's pointing his direction. Skill-wise, he has the talents, and the odds to win are more favorable to him. Of course, there's a fight; anything can happen. Stipe can catch him, but it's gonna be a lot of fire he's gonna have to walk through to get that done.
Next month in Las Vegas. You're back in the octagon for the first time in a little while. How's preparations going for that? Training's
been going great, man. I'm super excited to get back in there. It's been way too long. Ideally, I like to compete at least 3 times a year. Unfortunately, I had a little setback with the injury and sparring. But I think everything happens for a reason, right? So maybe it wasn't my time, something, I don't know. I just try to make sense out of it any way that I can. So we have a chance to get in there with the undefeated prospect. And I don't know if he's a prospect anymore, but an undefeated fighter from Eastern Europe. A lot of people are high on him in terms of his UFC championship goals. And I'm looking to shut that down, take his L, and just let him know that it's not his time yet.
I mean, speaking of ring rust and a long time outside the octagon, you talk about Movsar Evloev.
I was like, are we gonna get killed?
Yeah, let's not injure you before you fight. But yeah, Movsar Evloev, right? He hasn't fought since January in Canada. So how do you feel that that will affect him? And tactically, looking at his game and his fight against Arnold Allen, how do you assess him as a fighter?
I thought he had a great performance with Arnold Allen. I know Dana was kind of crapping on it, saying that it was the worst performance. I don't think it was that bad. Arnold Allen brought the fight to him, made it fun, opened up, and he took risk in that fight where Movsar didn't, which makes the fight fun. If someone takes risks, it takes 2 to tango. It can't just be one person making it one-sided. But other than that, I thought Movsar still did some good things. And with that said, I think I got a smart fighter to deal with. I got to crack the puzzle, which I do think I have the code to do that. I think my style meshes well with this.
Yeah.
And I don't think he's fought anyone like me, man. It's just very different. He's fought all strikers. Has he fought any grappler whatsoever? Mike Grundy was the only guy he fought who grappled, and he gassed out after 1 round. But the way that fight was going, he got taken down multiple times, got caught in multiple submission attempts, and he gassed himself out in 1 round. So with that trend, looking at that, I know a good wrestler with good foundation will give him some problems, and I'm that guy.
What about your most recent performance at UFC 300? Were you pleased with how you
What's
were?
up, my brother?
There you go.
Good, good.
Bit of love from the fans, always good to see. But your performance against Calvin Kattar.
You know, it was my first one coming up to 145.
Yep.
So I had a lot of nerves of whether or not I was going to be good enough to compete with the bigger guys. And I answered a lot of questions for myself.
I think you certainly proved it.
Yeah, in terms of the strength department, coming up a weight class, a much taller frame. Everyone makes fun of me saying that I'm a weight bully. I'm like, dude, I train with 45ers, I train with 55ers. I just compete at 35 because I knew nothing else but cutting weight. So getting that comfortability, getting my feet wet, being able to compete with a guy like that, who beat some killers, knocked out so many guys in Calvin Kattar. Yeah, he was coming off the injury, so I keep that in perspective, but I also know the work that he has put in against a lot of guys. And to do that to him, shut him down completely, it gave me a lot of confidence, and now I feel more comfortable. I feel like I can open up more in this next fight, take more chances, take more risk, and especially he's gonna be a willing grappler, right? So I think that presents a lot of opportunities to make this a really fun fight.
Well, naturally, we're very, very invested in the 145-pound division in Australia.
Yeah.
You know, there's potentially a big fight coming up for our guy, Volk. And, you know, who knows? You and I could get even more acquainted if you do work yourself into that title picture. But I did want to ask you about the fight that we saw only a few weeks ago in Abu Dhabi. You know, the champion now, Ilia Topuria, looks absolutely unstoppable at this point in time. And seeing Max Holloway like that was shocking to me and many others. What did you think of it?
I thought it was a great performance. I think Ilia is who he says he is, you know? I think it's gonna take a unique style to stop a guy like that. It's not gonna be someone coming in to strike with him where he's the strongest, he's his best. I know people are starting to say his ground game is better than his striking game. I kind of disagree with that. I disagree with that sentiment. I think he's a better striker than he is grappler. And I think he's probably put more time into his striking over the past few years than he has to his grappling. Not saying he still can't bounce back and be a dominant grappler, but I think offensively and I think defensively from grappling, that's the way you got to get to a guy like that. All the respect to Ilia for all the work he's put in such a short amount of time to get to where he is, calling his shots and doing what he says he's going to do. It's nothing short of inspiring. So for me, looking at a guy like that as a potential opponent, you know, if I get past Movsar, I like my chances. I'm not going to sit there. I'm not going to be pointing to the ground. I'm not going to be doing any of that crazy stuff. I'm looking to get the fight to the ground and beat him where I know I could, and at least where I have the best chances, right? You know, maybe get him a little bit tired, and then from there we can maybe have a striking battle where he's not trying to, well, he won't have as much pop as he would in the first 1 to 2 rounds. I thought Max should have grappled him a little bit, use his height, use his frame, lean on him. But he fought a great fight, too.
Yeah,
he had his moments where he landed some good shots on Ilia. But then Ilia does what he does and finds the chin, touches you to the body, and puts you out.
I haven't seen anybody at 145. I can't recall with the strength that Ilia Topuria has. It is frightening what he's able to do at featherweight.
Yes. He's a dangerous guy right now, man. A very dangerous guy right now. And his confidence has to be through the roof.
Do you feel like you get a title shot if you beat Movsar?
I would imagine I get a title shot after beating Movsar. I can't see who else there would be. Yeah, you got Diego Lopez, but his fight with Diego, with Dan Ige on short notice was very telling of where he's actually at skill-wise.
Right.
And if I beat the guy who beat him, he beat Dan on short notice. Movsar beat him on short notice. I beat the guy who beat him in dominant fashion, former champion, defended his belt 3 times. I think the resume speaks for itself. Storyline with myself, Merab, and Ilia. Just in regards to friendship, not like animosity or anything like that. I got nothing but respect for Ilia, you know? Just at the end of the day, he's got something that I want. Our friendship is not like myself and Merab's, you know, so that's a guy I would never fight, but this one, if the opportunity presents itself, I'm gonna take the opportunity and capitalize on it.
That would be huge to see you once again at the top of the UFC division, but Dana White does insist that the next fight has to be Alexander Volkanovski in the rematch that he deserves after running that division for 5 years, going undefeated for a decade. How do you see that fight playing out if they are to rematch? Can Volk get it done?
I'm a little worried, man, because he doesn't really possess the grappling ability. So with that, yes, Volkanovski, he's out-grappled guys who aren't grapplers. Now, if you got a guy who can actually grapple in Ilia Topuria, I have a hard time trying to figure out his keys to victory. His best moments were the first round where he utilized his footwork and was able to kind of touch and go, touch and go. He has to be able to do that for 5 rounds. If he could do that, I think Volk can win the fight. But if he sits on the cage again and gets caught, I just don't see how he withstands that power after being knocked out twice. 2 bad knockouts back-to-back in such a short time. Yes, he had time to recover, but will it be enough for him to take a shot like that from Ilia and exchange on the cage again? I don't think, even for myself. You know, you get hit by a guy that cleanly, it's very tough. Very, very tough. So it would be very telling to see what his game plan would be. Cars coming.
It's not get hit by a yellow New York cab. No, absolutely. But, I mean, hopefully that fight does take place, whether it be in Sydney, whether it be in Spain. Certainly exciting times. You think he deserves it
Yeah,
too?
he definitely deserves it, yes.
But then that would mean that if you do beat Movsar next month, then you might have to be on skates for a little bit. Yeah,
might have to wait a little bit or maybe stay busy with something else. We'll see. I still got my Funk Harbor rum, so maybe I do some work with that, promote that. Hopefully bring it over to Australia.
You've been to Australia before?
3 times now. I've been to Melbourne, Sydney twice. I think that's it, yeah.
Yeah, right. Well, Aljamain Sterling, thank you so much for your time here. Thanks for showing us your city. I'll go get a 99-cent slice of pizza. What do you reckon?
You can get the 99-cent slices, the New York slice, or you could get a quality slice of pizza from any of the other pizza shops.
Well,
I'm gonna get a sausage, egg, and cheese, salt, pepper, ketchup. That's a New York staple, a New York must.
Okay.
You have to.
I've got to check it out.
On a roll. Get it on a roll.
Well, any recommendations, please send them our way. Thanks, mate. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, guys.